The message came at 3 in the morning, Earth time. Commander Taman Park was sleeping in his small apartment when his communication device started beeping. The sound was loud and would not stop. He rolled over and grabbed the device from his nightstand. Commander Park, report to Command Center immediately. Priority 1. Taman sat up in his bed. Priority 1 meant something very serious was happening. In his 10 years as a military strategist, he had only seen Priority 1 messages 3 times. Each time, it meant war. He got dressed quickly and drove to the command center. The building was bright with lights even though it was still dark outside. Many cars were in the parking lot. Something big was definitely happening. Inside the building, people were running around everywhere. Taman had never seen so much activity at this hour. He went to the main briefing room where he found his team already waiting for him. Lieutenant Ji-hoon Kim was sitting at a table, looking at papers. Ji-hoon was the best tactical analyst Taman had ever worked with. He could look at a battle plan and find problems that others missed. Salman Lee was standing by a computer screen typing quickly. She was their data expert. If there was information to be found, Salman would find it. She could read through thousands of reports in a day and remember everything important. Hyun-woo Choi, talking quietly on his phone. He handled all their communications. When other military units needed to talk to each other, Hyun-woo made sure the messages got through clearly and quickly. What is going on? Taman asked as he sat down. We do not know yet, Ji-hoon said. Day. Just told us to wait here for a special briefing. Special briefing about what? They will not say, but look around. Everyone is here. All the top commanders, all the best strategists. This is not a normal meeting. Taman looked around the room. Ji-hoon was right. People in this room were the most important military leaders. On Earth, if they were all here, something very serious was happening. A door opened at the front of the room. General Morrison walked in, followed by 3 people that Taman did not recognize. These 3 people were not human. They were clearly aliens. The room became very quiet. Everyone stared at the 3 aliens. Taman had heard rumors that Earth had made contact with aliens, but he had never seen one before. There were 3 of them standing in front of him. The first alien was tall and thin with blue skin. It had 4 arms and large black eyes. The second alien looked more like a human but had gray skin and was much taller. The third alien was shorter and had what looked like scales instead of skin. General Morrison stepped forward. Ladies and gentlemen, I know this is unusual. We are facing an unusual situation. These are representatives from the Galactic Defense Coalition. They have traveled a long way to speak with us. The tall, blue alien spoke first. His voice was strange, like it was coming from a machine. People of Earth, my name is Admiral Velaneth. Represent the Zenthari Empire. You're part of an alliance of many worlds that work together to protect our galaxy. The gray alien spoke next. I am Counselor Aaron of the Kaleri Republic. We have been watching your species for some time. Your people have shown great skill in warfare and strategy. The third alien, the one with scales, did not speak. It just watched everyone in the room with small, bright eyes. Admiral Velaneth continued. Our galaxy is in great danger. An ancient enemy has returned. Call them the Void Swarm. They are destroying entire star systems. They have already taken hundreds of worlds. Taman felt his heart beating faster. This was bigger than anything he had ever imagined. We've been fighting them for 3 years, said Counselor Aaron, but we are losing. Our fleets are being destroyed. People are dying. We need help. General Morrison looked at the people in the room. The Coalition has asked Earth to join their fight. They want our best military minds to help plan the war. Admiral Velaneth looked directly at Taman and his team. We have studied your military history. Humans fight differently than other species. You are unpredictable. You take risks that others would not take. Maybe this is what we need. Taman could not believe what he was hearing. Aliens were asking humans to help save the galaxy. It sounded like something from a movie. However, Admiral Velaneth continued, many in the Coalition do not trust humans. You are a very young species. You have only been in space for a short time. You have never fought enemies like the Void Swarm. The scaled alien finally spoke. Its voice was very deep and slow. Some believe humans are too primitive to help. You will get in the way of real military planning. Temin felt anger rising in his chest. Who were these aliens to call humans primitive? Counselor Aaron held up a hand. But I believe fresh ideas are exactly what we need. Our old ways of fighting are not working. Maybe new ways will work better. General Morrison stepped forward again. Commander Park, I am assigning you and your team to work with the Coalition. You will go to their main command station and help plan the war effort. Taemin looked at his team. Ji-hoon looked excited. Salmon looked worried. Hoon-woo looked like he could not believe what was happening. How long will we be gone? Taemin asked. As long as it takes, General Morrison said. This is the most important mission in human history. The fate of the galaxy may depend on it. Admiral Veleneth looked at the humans with doubt in his large black eyes. You will be working in our strategy analysis division. You will observe our planning and provide input when asked. Taemin understood what this meant. They were not really being asked to help. They were being allowed to watch. The aliens did not expect much from humans. When do we leave? Taemin asked. Now, said Counselor Aaron. Our ship is waiting. The journey to our command station will take several days. We will brief you on everything during the trip. Taemin looked at his team one more time. They all nodded. They were ready. As they left the briefing room, Taemin wondered what they were getting into. They were about to leave Earth and travel to the stars. They were going to help fight a war against an enemy they had never seen. The aliens clearly did not think much of humans, but Taemin had a feeling that the aliens were about to learn something important about humanity. They thought humans were primitive and would get in the way. They were wrong. The galaxy was about to discover what humans could do when everything was on the line. The journey to the alien command station took for days. Taemin and his team traveled on a coalition ship that was bigger than any building they had ever seen. The ship was smooth and quiet, moving through space faster than anything humans had ever built during the trip. Counselor Aaron showed them around the ship. She explained how the coalition worked. We have 47 different species in our alliance, she said. Each species brings different skills to our military. The Zenthari are our best fighters, she continued. They are brave and strong. The Kaleri are good at defense and planning. The Vorthok are excellent engineers. Together, we have protected the galaxy for thousands of years. Taemin listened carefully. What about the Void Swarm? Where did they come from? Counselor Aaron's face became dark. They are ancient, older than any of our civilizations. They came from the empty space between galaxies. They eat energy and matter, and they finish with a star system nothing is left. How many ships do they have? Ji-hoon asked. Do not know. Every time we destroy some more appear. They seem to have no limit to their numbers. Salmon was taking notes on her computer. What is their technology like? Strange, Counselor Aaron said. They do not use ships like we do. Their vessels are alive. They can change shape and size. They can heal themselves when damaged. Hyun-woo looked worried. How do you fight something like that? That is what we are trying to figure out, Counselor Aaron said sadly. On the fourth day, they arrived at Nexus Prime, the Coalition's main command station. Taemin stared out the window and could not believe what he saw. The station was enormous. It looked like a small moon made of metal and glass. Thousands of ships were flying around it like bees around a hive. This is incredible, Salmon whispered. It is home to 12 million beings, Counselor Aaron said with pride. Representatives from every world in the Coalition live and work here. Docked at one of the station's many ports. As they walked through the corridors, Taemin saw aliens of every shape and size. Some looked almost human, others were completely different. Some had fur, others had feathers. Some walked on 2 legs, others on 4 or 6. So many different species, Ji-hoon said quietly. And they all work together? Hyun-woo asked. Most of the time, Counselor Aaron said. Sometimes there are disagreements. But the threat of the Void Swarm keeps us united. She led them to their quarters. The rooms were small, but comfortable. Each human had their own space with a bed, desk, and computer terminal. Rest today, Counselor Aaron said. Tomorrow, you will see the Central Combat Strategy Room. That is where all the war planning happens. The next morning, Taman and his team were escorted to the heart of Nexus Prime. They walked through corridors filled with military personnel from dozens of species. Everyone seemed busy and worried. Finally, they reached two massive doors that slid open silently. Inside was the most amazing room Taman had ever seen. The Central Combat Strategy Room was huge. The ceiling was so high that Taman could barely see it. In the center of the room was a giant holographic display that showed the entire galaxy. Red dots marked where the Void Swarm was attacking. Blue dots showed coalition fleets. There were far more red dots than blue ones. Around the room were smaller displays showing individual battles. Taman could see coalition ships fighting the Void Swarm in real time. The alien ships were strange and dark, constantly changing shape as they moved. This is where we coordinate the entire war effort, Admiral Velenith said as he approached them. Every fleet, every battle, every strategy is planned in this room. Taman watched the displays with amazement. The technology was incredible. They could see battles happening on the other side of the galaxy, as if they were right there. How do you control so many fleets at once? Ji-hoon asked. Very carefully, Admiral Velenith said. Each species has their own command structure. Zenthari controlled the attack fleets. The Kolari managed the defense fleets. The Vorthok handled logistics and supply. And it all works together? Solomon asked. Admiral Velenith paused. Usually. Sometimes there are communication problems. Sometimes different species disagree on strategy. But we make it work. They spent the morning watching the alien commanders plan their battles. Taman noticed that everything was very organized. Aliens had detailed plans for every situation. They calculated exactly how many ships to send, what weapons to use, where to position their fleets. We use the most advanced computers in the galaxy, a Kolari officer explained. They can predict enemy movements with 90% accuracy. But you are still losing, Hyunwoo said quietly. The room became silent. Several alien officers looked at the humans with anger. The Void Swarm is very powerful, Admiral Velenith said coldly. They have advantages we do not understand. Afternoon, they watched a battle happening in the Outer Rim. A coalition fleet was defending a colony world. The fleet was perfectly organized, with ships in precise formations. Everything looked like it was going according to plan. Then the Void Swarm arrived. The enemy ships did not form neat lines like the coalition fleet. Instead, they moved in chaotic patterns, attacking from all directions at once. The coalition ships tried to maintain their formation, but the Void Swarm kept changing their attack pattern. Why did they not break formation? Taman asked. Formation would create chaos, Admiral Velenith explained. Our ships work best when they stay in organized groups, but as they watched, the coalition fleet was slowly being destroyed. The Void Swarm ships were too unpredictable.
Yes.
Every time the coalition tried to respond to one attack, another came from a different direction. The enemy is adapting, Salman observed. They're changing their strategy during the battle. That is impossible, a Zenthari officer said. No fleet can change strategy that quickly. But they are doing it, Ji-hoon said, pointing at the display. The battle ended with the coalition fleet in full retreat. Another colony world was lost to the Void Swarm. This happens too often, Counselor Aaron said sadly. We plan perfectly, but the enemy does not follow our predictions. That evening, Taman and his team met in his quarters to discuss what they had seen. Did you notice something strange? Taman asked. The aliens are fighting like this is a chess game, Ji-hoon said. Everything is planned and organized. But the Void Swarm is not playing chess, Salman added. They are playing a completely different game. The aliens keep trying to make the enemy follow their rules, Hyunwoo said. But the enemy makes their own rules. Taman nodded. The coalition has incredible technology and brilliant minds. But they are thinking about war in only one way. What do you mean? Salman asked. They think that if they plan perfectly and use better technology, they will win. But what if perfect planning is not enough? What if the enemy's strength is that they do not plan at all? His team looked at him with understanding. They were beginning to see the problem. The coalition is trying to fight chaos with order, Taemin continued. But maybe chaos can only be fought with chaos. Are you saying we should fight like the Void Swarm? Ji-hoon asked. I am saying we should fight like humans, Taemin said. We should show them what humans do when there are no rules to follow. The next morning, they would begin their real work. The galaxy was about to learn what happened when humans were given a war to fight. For 3 weeks, Taemin and his team watched the war from the Central Combat Strategy Room. They saw dozens of battles across the galaxy. The same thing happened every time. The coalition would make a perfect plan, send their fleets to fight, and then lose when the Void Swarm did something unexpected. During this time, the humans were mostly ignored. The alien commanders were polite but did not ask for their opinions. Admiral Velenoth had made it clear that humans were there to observe and learn, not to give advice. But the humans were learning. They were learning things that the aliens had missed. Every evening, Taemin's team met in his quarters to discuss what they had seen. Salmon had been keeping detailed notes on every battle. Ji-hoon was studying the coalition's tactics. Hyunwoo was analyzing the communication patterns between different fleets. I think I see something, Salmon said one evening. She had papers spread across the table covered with charts and numbers. What is it? Taemin asked. The Void Swarm is not random. Everyone thinks they are chaotic and unpredictable, but they are not. They have patterns. She showed them her charts. Look at this. In every battle, the Void Swarm does the same basic thing. First, they attack in a seemingly random way. Second, they wait for the coalition to respond. Third, they change their attack to counter whatever the coalition does. Ji-hoon looked at the charts, so they are not really chaotic. They are reactive. Exactly, Salmon said. They let the coalition make the first move, then they adapt to counter it. The coalition thinks they are fighting an enemy that cannot be predicted, but really they are fighting an enemy that is predicting them. Hyunwoo had been quiet, but now he spoke up. I have been watching the communication patterns. The coalition has a big problem. What kind of problem? Taemin asked. Time. When a battle starts, it takes too long for information to travel between ships. The Zenthari fleet commanders have to ask permission from their admirals before changing tactics. Kulri have to check with their defense coordinators. By the time they decide what to do, the battle has already changed. How long does it take? Ji-hoon asked. Between 3 and 7 minutes for a major tactical decision, Hyunwoo said. The Void Swarm can change their entire attack pattern in less than 30 seconds. Taemin felt pieces of a puzzle coming together in his mind. So the coalition is fighting an enemy that adapts faster than they can respond. That is not all, Ji-hoon said. He had been studying the coalition's battle formations. Look at how they organize their fleets. Everything is about maintaining formation and following predetermined tactics. He showed them a diagram on his tablet. The Zenthari put their strongest ships in front. The Kalari put their defensive ships in the middle. The Vorthok keep their support ships in the back. This formation works well against traditional enemies. Psst. Not against the Void Swarm, Salmon said. Right. The Void Swarm attacks the formation itself.
Oh.
They force the coalition ships to choose between staying in formation or responding to attacks. If they stay in formation, they get destroyed. If they break formation, they become disorganized and get destroyed anyway. Taemin stood up and walked to the window. Outside, he could see coalition ships patrolling around the station. They flew in perfect lines, maintaining exact distances from each other. The coalition's strength has become their weakness, he said. Their organization, their planning, their technology, all of it depends on fighting enemies that follow the same rules. They do. But the Void Swarm does not follow any rules, Hyunwoo said. No, Taemin said. They make the coalition follow their rules instead. The next day, they watched another battle. This time, Taemin paid attention to something different. He watched not just what happened, but when it happened. The battle was in the Kepler system, where the coalition was defending a major supply depot. The defending fleet was commanded by Admiral Kethron, of the Zenthari. He was known as one of their best tactical minds. The battle began exactly as Soman had predicted. The Void Swarm attacked from multiple directions. Admiral Kethron responded by moving his ships into a defensive formation that had worked in previous battles. But the Void Swarm had fought against this formation before. They knew exactly how to counter it. Within minutes, they had changed their attack pattern to exploit the formation's weaknesses. Admiral Kethron tried to adapt, but it took time to get approval from his superiors. By the time new orders reached his ships, the Void Swarm had already adapted again. "This is painful to watch," Jihoon said quietly. Salman agreed. The battle ended with the Coalition fleet in retreat. The supply depot was destroyed. Thousands of Coalition personnel were killed or missing. In the strategy room, the alien commanders began their usual post-battle analysis. They studied every detail of the fight, trying to understand what had gone wrong. "The enemy used a new attack pattern," Admiral Velenith said. "Our computers had not seen this pattern before. We need better predictions," a Kalari officer suggested. "More advanced analysis of enemy behavior. Perhaps we should increase our fleet sizes," a Vorthok commander said. "Overwhelm them with numbers." Taman listened to the discussion with growing frustration. The aliens were trying to solve the problem by doing more of what was already failing. "Excuse me," he said. The room became quiet. All the alien commanders turned to look at him. "Yes, Commander Park," Admiral Velenov said, with barely hidden annoyance. "Have a question about the battle." "What is your question?" "Why did Admiral Kethron wait for permission to change his tactics?" Admiral Velenath looked confused. He followed proper protocol. Major tactical changes must be approved by Fleet Command. But the enemy was already adapting. By the time he got permission, it was too late. "Protocol exists for good reasons," Admiral Velenoth said coldly. "Without proper coordination, fleets become chaotic and ineffective." "But what if chaos is better than being too slow?" Taman asked. The room erupted in angry voices. Several alien officers spoke at once, saying that humans did not understand proper military doctrine. "Chaos is not strategy," Admiral Veleneth said firmly. "Chaos is how you lose wars." "But you are already losing," Jihoon said quietly. The room became completely silent. Every alien in the room stared at the humans with shock and anger. "You are here to observe," Admiral Veleneth said with ice in his voice. "Not to criticize strategies that have protected the galaxy for millennia." "I apologize," Taman said. "I meant no disrespect." But as the humans left the strategy room, Taman knew they had learned something important. The aliens were not just fighting the Void Swarm, they were fighting their own nature. Their need for order and control was preventing them from winning. That night, Taman made a decision that would change everything. "We are going to develop our own strategy," he told his team. "Our own strategy?" Soman asked. "We are going to show them what human warfare looks like. We are going to show them how to fight when there are no rules. They will not listen." "To us," Hyunwoo said. "Then we will have to prove it works," Taman said. "We will have to show them that sometimes the best way to fight chaos is with controlled chaos." "How do we do that?" Jihoon asked. Tam looked at his team. They were just for humans in a galaxy of billions of aliens. But they had something the aliens did not have. They had the ability to think differently. "We start by forgetting everything we know about proper military doctrine," he said. "We start by thinking like humans instead of trying to think like aliens. And then we save the galaxy." Taman and his team worked in secret for 2 weeks. They used their quarters as a planning room, staying up late into the night cycles. Battle plans with charts, battle plans, and analysis reports. 8. To anyone watching, it would look like chaos. But to the humans, it was the birth of a new way of thinking about war. "Forget everything we learned in military academy," Taman told his team on the first night. "Forget formation flying. Forget chain of command. Forget following orders without question. We need to think like humans who have never heard of proper military doctrine." Salman started by studying each coalition species individually. She read everything she could find about their cultures, their psychology, their natural fighting instincts. The aliens had been trying to make all species fight the same way. But Soman saw something different. Each species has natural advantages. She explained to the team, Zenthari are naturally aggressive. They want to attack. The Kalari are naturally defensive. They want to protect. The Vorthok are naturally careful. They want to plan and support. So why do they all fight using the same tactics? Jihoon asked. Because the coalition believes that unity means uniformity, Salman said. They think everyone should fight the same way. But what if unity meant using everyone's strengths together? She had created detailed profiles of each species. The Zenthari fought best when they could act on instinct. The Kolari fought best when they could choose their battles carefully. The Vorthok fought best when they could solve technical problems. What if we mixed them together differently, she asked. What if instead of keeping each species in their own groups, we put them together in small mixed teams? Jihoon had been working on communication systems. The coalition's command structure was like a pyramid. Orders came from the top and went down through many levels. Information came from the bottom and went up through the same levels. It was organized, but it was slow. I have an idea, Jihoon said. What if we give ship commanders permission to make their own decisions during battle? That would create chaos, Hyunwoo said. Good chaos or bad chaos? Jihoon asked. Right now, commanders have to wait for orders. By the time orders arrive, the battle has changed. What if commanders could adapt immediately to what they see? Showed them a new communication system he had designed. Instead of orders flowing up and down through levels, information would flow directly between ships that needed to work together. Ship commanders would still follow the overall battle plan, he explained, but they could change their tactics instantly based on what was happening around them. Hyunwoo had been studying something he called cascade points. These were moments in battle when one small action could create big changes across the entire fight. Look at this battle from last week, he said, showing them a recording. At exactly 14 minutes and 30 seconds, a single Void Swarm ship broke off from their main attack. The coalition fleet did not notice because they were focused on the main attack. So, Salman asked, that one ship got behind the coalition's defensive line. It destroyed 3 support ships. Without those support ships, the coalition's weapons could not recharge fast enough. They had to retreat. Hyunwoo pointed to the moment on the screen. One ship. 30 seconds. It changed the entire battle. You think we can create our own cascade points? Taemin asked. I think humans are very good at finding unexpected ways to cause big effects with small actions, Hyunwoo said. Over the 2 weeks, they developed what they called adaptive chaos theory. It sounded complicated, but the idea was simple. Instead of trying to control everything, they would control only what mattered. Instead of making perfect plans, they would make flexible plans that could change quickly. Their new approach had 3 basic rules. First, expect the unexpected. Never make a plan that would fail if the enemy did something surprising. Second, use each species' natural strengths. Do not try to make everyone fight the same way. Third, give commanders the power to adapt instantly, not wait for permission. When the battle is changing, it is the opposite of everything the coalition believes, Salman said. That is the point, Taemin replied. The breakthrough came when they realized that humans had always fought this way. Human military history was full of battles won by commanders who broke the rules, took risks, and adapted to changing situations. Remember the Battle of Midway? Jihoon said. The American commanders changed their entire plan in the middle of the battle, or the Normandy invasion, Hyunwoo added. When the original plan failed, individual units adapted and found new ways to succeed. Humans win wars by being unpredictable, Taemin said. The coalition loses wars by being too predictable. They needed a chance to prove their ideas worked. They needed someone in the coalition to trust them enough to try a new approach. That chance came sooner than they expected. 3 days later, alarms began sounding throughout Nexus Prime. Emergency lights flashed in the corridors. Over the communication system, Admiral Velenov's voice announced that a major Void Swarm fleet was attacking the frontier sector in the Central Combat Strategy Room. Panic filled the air. The Void Swarm had attacked 3 systems at the same time. Coalition fleets were rushing to defend them, but they did not have enough ships. We need to abandon one of the systems, Admiral Velenoth said grimly. We cannot defend all three. What? One? Asked a Kolari commander. The Kepler station system. It is the least strategically important. Nowadays. Temin felt his heart sink. The Kepler station was a mining colony with 50,000 civilian workers. The coalition was going to let them die because it was not strategically important. But then, Counselor, Aaron spoke up. What if we try a different approach? What if we defend Kepler station using unconventional tactics? What kind of unconventional tactics? Admiral Velenoth asked. Human tactics, Counselor Aaron said. She looked directly at Taman. You have been studying our battles for weeks. You have ideas about how to fight differently? Here's your chance. To prove they work, the room erupted in protests. Alien commanders spoke angrily about letting primitive humans command coalition forces. This is not a game, Admiral Velenoth said. This is real war against a deadly enemy. And we are losing that war, Counselor Aaron replied. Our conventional tactics are not working. Maybe it is time to try something unconventional. She turned to Taman. I can give you operational command of the Kepler Defense Fleet. Small force, only 20 ships from different species. If you fail, we lose one system that we were going to lose anyway. If we succeed, maybe you will listen to more of our ideas, Taman finished. Admiral Velenoth looked angry. But he did not argue with Counselor Aaron. She outranked him in the coalition hierarchy. Fine, he said. Give the humans their chance. To fail, when they do, perhaps this foolishness will end. Taman looked at his team. This was what they had been preparing for. This was their chance to show the galaxy what humans could do. We accept, he said. Within an hour, they were aboard a coalition command ship, heading for the Kepler system. The ship was fast, but it would still take 12 hours to reach the battle zone. Are we ready for this? Salman asked as they watched the stars rushing past. No, Taman said honestly. But humans are never ready. We just adapt as we go. And if we fail, Ji-hoon asked, then 50,000 people die, and the galaxy never learns what humans can really do, Taman said. So we will not fail. The fate of Kepler's station, and perhaps the entire war, now rested in the hands of 4 humans who had been told they were too primitive to help save the galaxy. It was time to prove the galaxy wrong. The command ship arrived at Kepler station just as the Void Swarm fleet appeared on the edge of the system. Taman stood on the bridge, watching the enemy ships move across the display screens. There were at least 40 Void Swarm vessels, dark, in constantly changing shape. His defense fleet had only 20 ships. The odds are not good, said Captain Donnick, the ship's Zenthari commander. He had been assigned to work with the humans, but he clearly did not believe they could win. Good, Taman said. Humans fight better when the odds are bad. The defense fleet was exactly what Taman had hoped for, small and mixed. There were 5 Zenthari attack ships, fast and aggressive. There were 6 Kolari defenders, heavily armored and patient. There were 4 Vorthok support ships with advanced sensors and repair systems. There were 5 ships from smaller coalition species, each with their own special abilities. Under normal coalition doctrine, these ships would be organized by species. The Zenthari would form an attack squadron. The Kolari would form a defensive line. The Vorthok would stay in the back, providing support. But Taman had different plans. All ship commanders, this is Commander Park, he said over the communication system. We're going to fight this battle differently than you have ever fought before. He could hear doubt in the responses from the various captains. They had been told to follow human orders, but they did not understand why. First, we are going to break you into mixed groups, Taman continued. Each group will have ships from different species. You will work together as small teams, not as separate fleets. That violates standard formation protocol, said Captain Yeleth, one of the Kolari commanders. Good, Taman said. Standard protocol is why we keep losing to the Void Swarm. Soman had spent the journey creating new team compositions. She assigned each ship to a mixed group based on their natural abilities and the personalities of their commanders. Group Alpha, she announced. 2 Zenthari attack ships, 1 Kolari defender, one Vorthok support ship. Your job is to hit hard and fast, then disappear. Group Beta. One Xanthari attack ship, two Kolari defenders, one Morvac stealth ship. Your job is to defend key positions and strike when the enemy is not expecting it, she continued, until all 20 ships were organized into 5 mixed groups. Each group had different strengths and would fight in different ways. This is madness, Captain Donak muttered. No, Jihoon said from his communication station. This is adaptation. The Void Swarm fleet was getting closer. On the display screens, Taemin could see them spreading out into their usual chaotic attack formation. It looked like a dark cloud moving toward the station. All groups, listen carefully, Taemin said. The enemy expects us to form defensive lines around the station. We're not going to do that. Then what are we going to do? Asked Captain Torvin, a Vorthok commander. We are going to attack them, Taemin said. Shocked silence filled the communication channels. Defense fleets did not attack. They defended. That was what the name meant. Attack them? Captain Yellet said. But we are outnumbered 2-1.
So...
What? Taemin replied. Numbers do not matter if you fight smarter. Hyunwoo had been studying the sensor readings of the approaching enemy fleet. I found a cascade point, he announced. 3 ships in their formation are coordinating the others. If we take out those 3 ships, their attack will become disorganized. How do we identify the coordination ships? Salman asked. They stay in the same relative positions while the others move around them, Hyunwoo explained. Like rocks in a river while the water flows around them. Taemin studied the enemy formation. He could see what Hunhua meant. Most of the Void Swarm. Ships were moving in seemingly random patterns, but 3 ships maintained steady positions. Group Alpha and Group Beta, he ordered. You are going to attack those coordination ships. Fast and hard. Get in, destroy your targets, get out. What about the other enemy ships? Captain Donak asked. Groups Gamma, Delta, and Echo will deal with them, Taemin said, but not by fighting them directly. What do you mean? Asked Captain. Sarek from Group Gamma. You are going to confuse them, Taemin explained. Move in patterns they cannot predict. Attack, then disappear. Make them waste time and energy chasing targets they cannot catch. The battle began exactly as Salman had predicted. The Void Swarm attacked in chaotic patterns, expecting the coalition fleet to form defensive lines. But there were no defensive lines to attack. Instead, Group Alpha struck at the first coordination ship. 2 Xanthari attack ships went in fast and aggressive, exactly as their nature demanded. The Kolari defender protected them from enemy fire, exactly as Kolari instincts required. The Vorthok support ship provided sensor data and repairs, exactly as Vorthok training taught, working together.
Ow.
They destroyed the first coordination ship in less than 2 minutes. Group Beta hit the second coordination ship using completely different tactics. They used the Morvac stealth ship to get close without being detected. Then the Kolari defenders used their heavy weapons to destroy the target. While the Xanthari ship covered their escape, the third coordination ship tried to retreat. But Group Alpha was already moving to intercept it. Within 5 minutes of the battle starting, all 3 enemy coordination ships were destroyed. The effect was immediate. The Void Swarm fleet became confused and disorganized. They had lost the ships that were directing their attack patterns. Comes the fun part, Taemin said. Groups Gamma, Delta, and Echo began their harassment attacks. They struck at enemy ships from unexpected angles, then disappeared before the Void Swarm could respond. Each group used different tactics based on their composition. Group Gamma used hit-and-run attacks, striking fast and then hiding behind asteroids. Group Delta used the natural patience of their Kolari commanders to set up perfect ambushes. Group Echo used their mixed abilities to attack and defend at the same time. The Void Swarm tried to adapt to these new tactics. But every time they changed their approach, the human-led groups changed too. The enemy ships that were used to fighting. Predictable coalition fleets could not handle opponents that refused to be predictable. They are getting frustrated, Salman observed. Look how they are moving. They keep trying to form attack patterns, but we are not staying in one place long enough for the patterns to work. Captain Donnick was staring at the displays in amazement. I have never seen anything like this. We are actually winning. Humans always win when we get to fight our own way, Ji-hoon said with pride. But the battle was not over. The Void Swarm had more ships, and they were learning. Taemin could see them starting to adapt to the human tactics. They are trying to. Surround Group Alpha, Hyun-woo warned. Group Beta intercept and assist, Taemin ordered. Group Gamma, create a distraction on their left flank. The coalition ships moved like they had been working together for years instead of hours. The mixed crews were discovering that their different abilities made them stronger, it's not weaker. Captain Yeleth, who had doubted the human strategy from the beginning, was now leading her mixed group with enthusiasm. This is incredible, she said. Over the communication channel, I can do things with this group that I could never do with an Alkalari squadron. That is the point, Salman said. Diversity is strength, not weakness. The battle reached its climax when the remaining Void Swarm ships tried one final coordinated attack. They gathered their forces and aimed directly at Kepler Station. All groups, this is it, Taemin announced. They are putting everything into this attack. If we stop them here, they will retreat. And if we do not stop them, Captain Torvin asked, then 50,000 people die, Taemin said simply. So we stop them. The 5 mixed groups converged. On the enemy fleet, they attacked from all directions at once, using every tactic they had learned during the battle. Zenthari aggression, Kalari defense, Vorthok precision, and human unpredictability combined into something the Void Swarm had never faced before. The enemy ships, already damaged and confused, could not handle this final assault. One by one, they began to retreat. Within minutes, the entire Void Swarm fleet was fleeing the system. Kepler Station was safe. We did it, Captain Donnick said in disbelief. We actually did it, Taemin said. We proved something. We proved that the galaxy can win this war. We just have to stop fighting it the old way. As reports of the victory spread through the coalition communication networks, Taemin knew that everything was about to change. The galaxy was about to learn what humans could do, and they were allowed to fight like humans. The age of adaptive warfare was beginning. News of the victory at Kepler Station spread across the galaxy faster than light itself. For the first time in 3 years, a coalition fleet had not just survived a Void Swarm attack, they had won decisively. The enemy had retreated without destroying a single coalition ship. Within hours of the battle, Taemin received a priority message from Nexus Prime. The Supreme Strategic Council wanted to see him immediately. Admiral Velanoth's voice was different now. The coldness was gone. In its place was something Taemin had never heard before: respect. Commander Park, you and your team will return to Nexus Prime at once, the message said. The Council wishes to discuss your tactics in detail. The journey back to the command station took 2 days. During that time, reports came in from across the galaxy. The victory at Kepler Station was being studied by every military commander in the coalition. Everyone wanted to understand how. For humans had achieved what thousands of experienced alien officers could not. When they arrived at Nexus Prime, everything was different. The same alien officers who had ignored them before now watched them with curiosity and respect. Guards saluted as they passed. Junior officers asked for their signatures. This is strange, Hyun-woo said as they walked through the corridors. Yesterday, we were too primitive to help. Today, we are heroes. Success changes everything, Taemin replied. Now they want to learn what we know. They were escorted directly to the Supreme Strategic Council chambers, the most important room on the station. Taemin had never been here before. The chamber was enormous, with representatives from every major species in the coalition. At the center sat the Council of Five, the supreme military leaders of the galaxy. Admiral Velanoth stood as they entered. Commander Park, on behalf of the coalition, I apologize for doubting your abilities. Your victory at Kepler Station has given us hope for the first time in years. Counselor Aaron stepped forward. We want you to analyze our entire war effort. Want to know everything you have learned about fighting the Void Swarm. Everything, Salman asked. Everything, confirmed Council Leader Zephin, an ancient being from the oldest species in the galaxy. Have permission to access all military records, all battle reports, all strategic assessments. We want your complete analysis of how to win this war. Over the next 6 months, Temin and his team worked harder than they had ever worked before. It had access to information that had been classified for decades. It studied every battle, fought against the Void Swarm. They analyzed the tactics of every coalition species. They examined the weaknesses of every enemy encountered. What they discovered was bigger than anyone had imagined. The problems went far beyond simple tactical errors. The entire coalition military structure was built on assumptions that were thousands of years old. These assumptions had worked against traditional enemies, but they were completely wrong for fighting the Void Swarm. The coalition has 3 fundamental weaknesses, Solomon explained during one of their progress meetings. First, they believe that superior technology always wins. Second, they believe that perfect planning prevents problems. Third, they believe that unity means conformity. All 3 beliefs are wrong when fighting the Void Swarm, Ji-hoon added. The enemy does not care about technology superiority. They adapt to any plan, and they use our conformity against us. But the humans had also discovered something else. The Void Swarm had weaknesses too, big ones. The enemy's strength is also their weakness, Hyun-woo said. They adapt quickly, but adaptation takes energy. If we force them to adapt constantly, we can exhaust their ability to respond. They are like a muscle that gets tired from too much use, Taemin said. We can wear them down by being unpredictable. The humans identified specific patterns in Void Swarm behavior. The enemy always tested coalition defenses the same way. They always adapted using the same basic methods. They always retreated when their coordination was disrupted beyond a certain point. They are not as chaotic as they appear, Salman said. They follow rules, just different rules than we expected. After 6 months of analysis, they were ready to present their findings. The document they created was unlike anything in coalition military history. It was not just a battle plan or a tactical manual. It was a complete reimagining of how galactic warfare should be fought. They called it the map of every weak point. What? Presentation took place in the same central combat strategy room where the humans had first watched coalition forces lose battle after battle. But now the room was filled with the most important military leaders in the galaxy. Everyone wanted to hear what the humans had learned. Taemin stood at the center of the room, looking at the faces around him. 6 months ago, these same beings had considered humans too primitive to offer opinions. Now they were waiting to learn from human wisdom. The coalition has been fighting this war with one hand tied behind its back. Taemin began. Not because you lack courage or skill, but because you have been using the wrong approach entirely. He activated the main display, showing a galaxy-wide map of the conflict. Red areas showed Void Swarm territory. Blue areas showed coalition space. There was far more red than blue. You've been trying to fight chaos with order, he continued. But chaos cannot be defeated by order. It can only be defeated by controlled chaos. Salman took over the presentation. Every species in the coalition has natural fighting abilities, but you have been forcing everyone to fight the same way. This wastes your greatest advantage, diversity. She showed examples of mixed species tactics that had been tested since Kepler Station. The results were impressive. Mixed groups consistently outperformed single-species units against Void Swarm forces. Ji-hoon presented the communication improvements. Decision-making speed is more important than decision-making perfection. Good decision made quickly is better than a perfect decision made too late. He demonstrated the new command structure that gave individual ship commanders authority to adapt tactics instantly. Battles that had been lost under the old system were won decisively under the new system. Han-woo explained the cascade point theory. Every battle has moments when small actions create big results. If we learn to identify and create these moments, we can win with smaller forces. Finally, Taemin presented the overall strategy. The Void Swarm wins by making us react to their chaos. But if we create our own controlled chaos, we force them to react to us. When they are reacting instead of acting, they lose their advantage. The room was completely silent as the presentation ended. Then Council Leader Zephan stood up. How long will it take to implement these changes across all coalition forces? He asked. 6 months for basic training, Taman replied. 1 year for full implementation. And you believe this will allow us to win the war? I believe this will. Allow you to take back every system you have lost, Taman said. The Void Swarm is strong, but they have never faced an enemy that fights like this. Admiral Veleneth stepped forward. Commander Park, I formally request that you and your team remain with the Coalition as permanent strategic advisors. Accept, Taman said. Over the following year, human tactical doctrine spread throughout the Coalition military. Mixed species units became standard. Flexible command structures replaced rigid hierarchies. Adaptive tactics replaced predetermined battle plans. The results exceeded everyone's expectations. Coalition forces began winning battles they would have lost before. Void Swarm fleets that had seemed unstoppable started retreating from systems they had held for years. The war turned. For the first time in 3 years, the red areas on the galactic map began shrinking while the blue areas grew. A year after the presentation of the map of every weak point, the last major Void Swarm fleet was destroyed in the Battle of the Spiral Rim. The ancient enemy that had threatened the galaxy for millennia was finally defeated. On Nexus Prime, a new institution was established, the Human Strategic Institute. Commander Taman Park became its first director. Officers from across the galaxy came to learn the principles of adaptive warfare. The Institute's motto, written in 100 different languages, was displayed above the main entrance. Diversity is strength, adaptation is victory. As Taman stood in his new office, looking out at the stars, he thought about how far they had come. For humans had arrived at Nexus Prime as unwanted observers. They were leaving as the teachers of a new age of warfare. But more importantly, they had proven something that would echo across the galaxy for generations to come. When different species worked together, when they used their differences as strengths instead of weaknesses, when they adapted instead of conforming, they could overcome any challenge. The galaxy was safe, and humanity had found its place among the stars, not as conquerors, but as the ones who taught others how to win by working together. Somewhere in the vast emptiness between galaxies, other ancient enemies stirred in the darkness. But when they came, the galaxy would be ready, because now they knew the secret that humans had always known. Sometimes the best way to fight chaos is with chaos of your own.